Thank you, dear friends. What a wonderful devotional atmosphere you have created through this beautiful chanting. Thank you so much. Welcome, everybody. A very good morning to all of you. This is our annual spiritual fair. It's a tradition that started in 2016. A fair is a fun place to be, and we thought, why not have a spiritual fair? And for the last over 50 years, Ananda Sangha has been sharing the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. It is a spiritual movement founded by Swami Kriyanandaji, who is a direct disciple of Paramhansa Yogananda. Ananda came to Pune in 2008, and since then we have had teaching. We have a teaching center, and in the last year, in the pandemic, we also began meditation groups in different parts of the city, in the east, in the west, and in the central part of Pune. So welcome once again to this fair. You will see there are stalls that that display a spectrum of the application of Yoganandaji's teachings. We follow the path of Kriya Yoga, but how can we apply Kriya Yoga practically in every aspect of daily life, business, marriage, relationships, education? That is what you will find out there in the stalls and through the classes, various classes today you will see throughout the day. So please relax, have fun, enjoy the day, and we hope you can stay with us throughout this day. So we'll start the event with our first class. We have two classes parallelly. So this is one of the classes. This is the main auditorium. And on the first floor, classroom 4, we have a second class running. So the classroom 4 will host the topic Pranayama to overcome harmful emotions. We go through difficult emotions, I think almost on an everyday basis, stress, negativity, challenges that we are finding hard to overcome. So we have with us a very experienced teacher in Lata Gupta who will take charge of this class on the first floor. So please feel free to join any of these classes. In this auditorium, we will have a class on health, and it will talk about Paramhansa Yoganandaji's 10-point guide for perfect health. So you are welcome to join either of these classes. We have a buffet of offerings for you, so feel free to choose. So the class will begin right now, and I will now invite Harsh to set the stage for the session in this class, in this room. Thank you.
Thank you, Blazy. Good morning, one and all, in person and online. For this main hall auditorium, we have class on Paramhansa Yogananda's 10-point guide for perfect health. And for this, I am delighted to welcome Dr. Amar Aggarwal. So Dr. Amar Aggarwal has been with Ananda Sangha from 2007, and he is an MD in internal medicine with 2 decades of clinical experience. He is also currently practicing at SKN Medical College, Pune. He is, along with being a medical practitioner, he is a certified yoga teacher, meditation teacher, a teacher of healing, and has published various papers in and researches in various journals. He is one of those persons who has very well combined the medicine with the inner knowledge of yoga. So with now, I invite Dr. Amar Aggarwal to share his teachings on this perfect health.
Good morning, dear friends. Thank you, Harsh, for that kind introduction. And before we begin with, let us start with a small invocation. Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Let's sit in silence for just 1 minute, friends, before we begin. Thank you. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A very good morning to you all once again. It's always a joy to be in such programs. And when I was given this topic and I was looking at the theme, a 10-point guide from Yogananda's health teachings, I thought, there can be a week-long retreat on the subject. And how am I going to pack these 10 points in just 30 minutes? But still, we can. And then we wanted it to be experiential also. So I'll do my best to offer these teachings in these next 30 minutes. Before I begin, in fact, I would like to share that when I started my journey almost 3 decades ago, I was really fascinated to know that what is this life all about? Can we understand this life in greater depth? And that is what attracted me to medical science when I joined a medical college. And it has been a very interesting journey so far because I had to learn. I have got this opportunity to learn the principles behind the life itself and how the human body functions. It has been a very fascinating journey, and I'm grateful for this opportunity that God gave me. But just when I was advancing, I slowly started finding the limitation of it also, because very soon I understood that this, whatever we are studying, is actually just the surface. It has to be something deeper, which we are missing. Maybe there is something more to it. Maybe we are just scratching the surface. Maybe we are just understanding life only from the physico-chemical aspects. Very interestingly, Yogananda's guru, as you see his picture here, second from the right, Swami Shri Yukteswar, he actually joined medical college more than 100 years ago. He was also interested in medical sciences, but he left the medical college just after 6 months. And he said, because probably he said it is too mechanical and they are trying to just, speak only on the physical terms. But here I was hanging around, or I'm still hanging around, you may say, for those years. And in those years, when I came across the teachings of Yogananda almost 15 years ago, those limitations which I was facing in the modern medicine, they started I was able to transcend those limitations. And slowly and gradually, it started making sense. And suddenly, and it came as an inspiration that, okay, why don't you try to integrate, and why don't you make an effort to probably bring these teachings and try to make it integrate them with the conventional medical science and see how does it help. So I welcome Karthikeyan ji and Naya Swami Dhyana. So as I was sharing with you, friends, that this happened slowly this started making sense in 2005 when I came across first of all this beautiful book, Autobiography of a Yogi, and thereafter it became like one step at a time, going into the deeper aspects of the teachings. And I before that, even similar in even small things like what is life, or for that matter, what is death? What happens to? I was seeing, you may say, death from close quarters. I was working in an intensive care unit where I was seeing death almost every other day, and I used to wonder what happens to these people who are just now you are talking to you, and after a few moments they are no more. Where are they going? And since I was wondering, I had no clue. But then Yogananda's teachings helped me to understand this whole concept of life and death in better terms. And very recently, I just was reading this book, which is written by a modern psychiatrist in America. His name is David Hawkins. And although he passed away in 2012, he said a very interesting thing. Although it is, I still feel that the teachings that we are trying to, bring into the medical science will take at least 100 more years probably to come to the mainstream medicine. But he said very interesting as he was speaking in one of the conferences in California. He said, what I have observed, that the outcome of the patients as far as healing is concerned is not dependent on what physical measures we are taking, but is dependent on the consciousness of the physician. It was very interesting that he could, and he said, although I have observed this, but I cannot put it into a paper, or I cannot put it into words, because the linear thinking of the modern science will not understand it. A spiritually inclined person maybe will understand it, but a linear model which we are practicing will be at a loss to understand this concept. He even gave an example. He was a psychiatrist. He was treating patients with schizophrenia or depression and so many other conditions. He said, I have observed that even the drugs that we use to treat the patients, the side effects, not all, if let us say there are two group of patients having similar illness, being treated with similar medications by two different doctors, the side effects of the medicines, he said, are less, are even sometimes absent if the consciousness of the physician is higher. Now, this is very interesting. You can actually read this in this book called Map of Consciousness, written by David Hawkins. When I read this, I said, isn't it the same thing which Yogananda was saying 100 years ago, that everything is consciousness? And everything, if we see from that angle, if we practice, if we understand, if a consciousness of a physician can have so much influence on us, imagine what the consciousness of the individual itself can do for him or her. Because if the consciousness is right, then health can happen almost instantaneously, because health is like a natural state. In fact, it is very difficult to define health. It is difficult to define a disease. If you see modern medicine textbooks, they are nothing but a catalog of illnesses. They are like hundreds of thousands of illnesses, because it is easy to classify a disease. But how do you define health? Even WHO gives us a definition that, okay, yes, it's a feeling of well-being. It's a complete sense of well-being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. But then Yogananda defined that what is health? If somebody asks you this question, are you healthy? Then what comes to your mind? You may probably scratch your head and feel that, okay, I'm not in the hospital, or I'm not suffering from the disease, and last time when I got my blood tests done, everything was normal. But do you really need any certificate from a doctor to feel healthy or to say that you are healthy? Isn't health a feeling itself? And Yogananda actually mentioned in one of the books, you will find this book in one of our stalls, How to Achieve Glowing Health and Vitality. He said health is something when you wake up in the morning and you feel enthusiasm, you feel joy to go to your work or do service or seva of any kind. And you feel the body as a luxury, he said. Just like a bird feels when it is shooting in the air, and what a child feels when he's bubbling with joy. As you see a child's eyes sparkling with light and enthusiasm, that is health. A child doesn't need any certificate. In fact, There's a good friend of a very senior physician. I sometimes listen to his talks. He said, today's, unfortunately, modern medicine has become a kind of industry where people go for health checkups and they feel that, okay, they need a kind of proof or an evidence for themselves feel that just to feel that they are healthy. Isn't it absurd? But then if health is a feeling, and if health is coming from that state of consciousness which we are, then how can we feel it every time? Then how, or what are the reasons why we are not able to, let's say, feel that feeling of well-being, if that is our true state? That is what we are going to understand today. So before we go on, let us understand this concept that, and Swami and Yogananda actually started his journey from this organization called Self-Realization Fellowship, because his mission when he went to the West was to make us understand who we are, what is our true reality. And that is why he coined the term self-realization. Who are we? So what do we understand with this term? In fact, it's very easy to understand that whatever we are seeing around ourselves, whatever we see, we call it an object. Let us say, I'm seeing this microphone, this is an object, or I see this lamp, it's an object. So anything which is an object is something outside me. Isn't that true? It cannot be you because it is something outside you. So if you see some object outside you, and certainly you are different from that object. If you see your hand, you can't be your hand for the same reason, because hand is something outside you. So that is how you're not your hand. So let us do this exercise because we want to make it experiential. So let us sit with a straight spine and let us understand this concept slightly better. That if you close your eyes and you understand that, okay, I was seeing all these impressions which were coming to me from outside, but they are all objects which I am experiencing. And for any experience, there are two things happening. One is my awareness, and the other is that object. So object plus awareness gives me an experience. And now you can bring this concept a little closer, just like I gave you the example of hand. For the same reason, my hand, my feet, my body is also an object. That is not me. And for the same reason, I am not the body. This body is also an object which I am experiencing. This is something outside me. I am not this body. And let's go one step further behind. When I am observing my own mind, which is nothing but a flow of thoughts, and I say I am observing these thoughts, and these thoughts are also an object. They are not me. How can that be? Because I am different from the object. I am an observer. So the body and thoughts and body and mind, they are outside myself. They are outside me, and I am not that. I am nothing but a pure observer, or I am a witness of these two entities. I am nothing but pure consciousness. So even a little bit of creating a distance between these two things, you can understand. You can open your eyes now. You understand that I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am something which is observing the body and mind. Now we understand, okay, if this is the true reality, if I am only consciousness, which modern medicine has started discovering very recently, or in psychiatry at least, or in neurosciences. I read a book some time back, How God Changes Your Brain, where they were very much interested in understanding what happens to a person when he practices some of these yoga techniques. I'm going to talk about the tools now. Because if I have to remain, what is health? Health is nothing, but if I remain in my true state, if I remain in my natural state, health is my natural state. But if I go away from the source, then this health I'm going to lose to that degree. It is something like if I'm closer to the light, I will always, the light is always going, there can never be darkness if I remain closer to the light. And the farther I go from the light, to that degree you can say the darkness is going to envelop me. And same way we can say the health and disease. If we say health is something like light, which is my true nature, my job should be to remain close to the source as much as possible. If I go farther from the source, then you can say I will lose health to that degree. And what is that? That is why if you see the term disease, if you break it up, it becomes dis-ease, which is to say that to that degree, I am not at ease with myself. If we are at ease with ourselves, we are healthy. So the tools that Yogananda gave are actually to help us to remain connected with the source. Because Yogananda said that this is your true reality. If you understand who you are healthy, and you understand that true health has nothing to do with your body and mind. In fact, there is a story I want to share with you. And we know that Ramakrishna was having throat cancer. And at one time, Ramakrishna, there was a devotee who came to Ramakrishna, and he said, "Sir, this must be very painful for you." And he said, "Yes, it is." And for some time, this devotee was sitting beside Ramakrishna. And after some time, he said, "Sir, but I fail to understand why I'm feeling so blissful in your presence. That although it is painful for you, but I don't know why I'm feeling the waves of bliss coming from you. And if these waves of bliss are coming from you, you must also be feeling the same. Otherwise, how would I feel this bliss?" And then Ramakrishna started smiling. He said, "Naughty boy, you have found my secret." Which is to say that, yes, on body level, he was suffering from a disease, but he was absolutely healthy in his true self because he was feeling the same sensation. He was feeling the true health within himself. Swami Kriyananda, who was a direct disciple of Yogananda, I happened to be his physician also at many moments. And when I saw his record of medical history, he was suffering from so many problems. It was very surprising for doctors to see that how this man is walking. But even after so many medical challenges, sometimes surgeries and life-threatening problems, whenever doctors used to meet him, when I personally met him, he was always in bliss. He was always in joy. Does that mean that, yes, his body was suffering on one level, but he was in absolute perfect health? So in that way, let us come down to the tools that how can we remain in our true sense of health, even when our body might be suffering from some challenges, even when your blood report says that, oh, yes, you have this problem, but that doesn't define you because that is not who you are. So how do we do that? There is only one key here. As Yogananda said that if it is a restless mind is the greatest barrier for us to experience that true reality. So how do we do that? The first key that Yogananda has given us is to understand that these thoughts which are there in our mind are not individual, but they are universal. So when sometimes we say, oh, these thoughts are so tormenting me, or sometimes even a physical illness, if you see, always comes through the mind. Let us say we talk of pain. How does a painkiller work? A painkiller just blocks the pathway from which those physical sensations are reaching the brain. So in a way, we are trying to disconnect the physical sensations reaching the brain, and then then the pain, we don't experience the pain. Even a physical pain, if you see, cannot reach us without a mind. Otherwise, body is inert. So how even a painkiller works that, even in the same way, anesthetic agent, if you see, what does an anesthetic agent do? It blocks the connection between the mind and the body. So that is why when there is no mind, a surgeon can operate on the body because that connection is not there. So what Yogananda gave through his teachings are the tools to how to do this disconnection consciously. How can we do that? And it is not easy to pack everything in just 15 minutes, but I will give you the essence of that. In fact, Yogananda at one time, he used to talk to God as many of the saints used to do talking just like we are talking with one another. He used to say that, why, God, you made this world? There is so much of suffering. I fail to understand that what is the reason to create it. And then God gave him an answer that what happens in the sleep, he said, do you remember your body? Because in every night, if you see, we experience this, that in deep sleep, we forget the body, we forget the mind, we forget who we are, we forget the name and the personality. And isn't the sleep refreshing? When we wake up in the morning, we feel refreshed. Now, if you see modern physiology or medicine has no answer for that. I have studied medicine and physiology. They are still at loss to understand what happens in the sleep. But Yogananda gave an answer. He said, because we retire into the self and self rejuvenates us. Now, this process, because it is happening subconsciously, we are not able to remember it. But if we do it consciously, then you will remember it. So that is why meditation is nothing, but it is like a conscious sleep. So you are going into the same peace as we go into deep sleep, but we do it consciously. So you remember what is happening. So let us do one more thing here. And this time we are going to practice a technique where that how we can go beyond the thoughts. So one technique is just to be an observer, just to witness the thoughts, let them pass through, because Yogananda did say that thoughts are not individual. Your mind is not creating them, but your brain is picking them like radio signals, just like a radio is picking up the waves and you tune into a channel, so that radio signal picks it up. So how do we do that? Another key that Yogananda gave was that thoughts always follow the feeling. So if there are too many thoughts going into the mind, this is a very beautiful key. Almost it works instantaneously. That check your feeling. If you have pure feeling, if you have feeling of love for everybody, what happens to your thoughts? Let us practice it. So let us sit again with a straight spine. We have understood that we are not this body. We are not these thoughts. And just feel. Now bring your attention to the heart and just visualize someone you love. It could be your partner, it could be your friend, your children, someone who is very dear to you. And offer your heart's love. Visualize that person with closed eyes. And just offer and share your heart's love to that person. And slowly share this feeling now. Let it expand. Let it expand this feeling to involve some of your friends and relatives. Allow it to expand like an unconditional love. Feel that it is your heart's love that is going in all the directions. See and visualize it as going as a light. Far and wide, distance here does not matter. Feel them receiving your heart's love, as if they are also feeling the same upliftment as you are feeling in this moment. Continue to practice this for a few more moments. And just make a note of what is happening to your thoughts in this moment. Maybe you will find that because you have a deep feeling of love flowing through your heart, your thoughts have naturally calmed down. Your mind is not as restless as it was earlier. And suddenly you feel yourself in the present moment, closer to the source, closer to your true nature of who you really are. You can open your eyes now. It's probably got a taste of what I'm trying to give you an experience, because we have limitations of time. Otherwise, even one tool, if you take, although we are talking of more 10 things or more than 10 things here, but even if one tool you carry home, you will find it to be transforming. Such powerful are the techniques that Yogananda shared with us. So, in fact, Yogananda's direct disciple, Swami Kriyananda, at one time said, practice to live more in the heart than in the mind. Because he said, just because thoughts follow the feeling, although we are living in an intellectual age, we value intellect more than the heart quality, but it's actually, it is not how we are built. Because when we are in the heart, you naturally feel at ease with yourself. And how can there be dis-ease when you are feeling at ease? This is a very simple concept. You don't have to, it's not a rocket science, it's all about experience. That is why Yogananda's teachings are experiential. He wanted to make it as alive as possible. So if you see, starting from the consciousness itself, if consciousness is our true reality, if we live at closer to the source, if we remain attentive of our thoughts, if we understand that these thoughts are not my thoughts, let them pass through, I am just an observer. And if I learn to live more in the heart, then these three techniques can help me to remain in my true self, which is actually the true state of health and well-being. The other techniques are a little one step below, but they are helpful, because sometimes you may find that if one technique or one tool is not working, the other will work. And what are those other techniques? They are related with our breath, posture, and also little exercises, which he said energization exercises. So we'll do another technique now. Before that, let me see how much time we have. So we just have 4-5 minutes more. So let us do this technique, what we call exercise. So let us say energization exercise is a wonderful tool. Again, come with a straight spine. If you wonder why I'm talking straight spine, Yogananda said spine is the highway of the energy. Spine is the main channel through which energy is flowing. If you are a bent spine, he said, is an enemy of self-realization, and it is an enemy of good health also. So sit with a straight spine, allow the energy to flow, and now slowly let us start tensing our feet. Very slowly and gently start tensing your feet and legs, thighs and upper arms, chest and neck. Very slowly and gently, just allow this tension to build up. You don't have to give jerk to your body. Hold the tension as long as it's comfortable for you, and then slowly release it. Little by little, allow the body to relax. You can relax it in the reverse order. Again, let us tense slowly. Feet, legs, thighs, abdomen, chest, face and neck. Hold. And then relax in the reverse order. And what are we doing? He said we are using our will to tap into the cosmic energy. There are multiple sources to take energy into the body, and food is the only source we know of. But he said these exercises will help you to energize at will anytime. And I'm not going into the detail of these exercises, but it's a wonderful tool that he gave us. Then he talked about the breath, which is a wonderful tool again to relax. Let us practice this breath technique once. Again, sitting with a straight spine. Close your eyes. Let's inhale to the count of 4. Hold the breath. And breathe out. Again, breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Let's do 2 more cycles at our own pace, keeping the count 4-4-4. Now you can open your eyes slowly. If you find that this is a tool where he told us that mind and breath have a connection, because it is difficult to take hold of the mind, but you can easily take hold of the breath. So by practicing this simple pranayama, which you can do at any time, even while sitting in the office, if you do just few cycles, you feel that suddenly your mind starts becoming calm. So this is also, and he said, when we do pranayama, what we are doing, even scientifically speaking, we are bringing more oxygen into the system, and this oxygen gets converted into higher life force, which will help you to rejuvenate every cell of your body. So the techniques are, there are wonderful techniques. So the 3 techniques that I have shared today are the posture, the breath, and also the use of energization exercises, which is to use our willpower. And then finally he said, there are other things like diet. Now people make a lot of, he said sometimes we become food faddists, there is, because we start from the diet, and there is nothing wrong in starting with the diet. But he said when we change our consciousness, when we are at the source, when we are practicing these techniques from their higher source, you will see that your inclinations for the diet will naturally change, because it's a struggle otherwise. Otherwise, it's a struggle that, okay, I should eat this, but I don't want to eat this. My doctor has told me to eat this, but I don't feel like eating it. Why is that struggle? Because there is something inside which is pushing us towards that. If we change the inside, outside will take care by itself. So he said, don't worry about the diet. Be a properitarian, he said. Don't become a food faddist. Don't allow this thought to come to your mind. Oh, I didn't have the coffee in the morning. That is why I'm feeling sleepy today. That has nothing to do with the coffee. And so diet is it's a vast subject, because I'm just touching some of these essences this morning. And then he said sunshine. Sunshine, he said, can instantly revivify you. Just go out in the sun for just 10 minutes and allow consciously yourself to soak into the vibrations of the sun. Because everything is conscious in this universe, even sun is conscious. So if you will invite the sun rays to electrify you, you will see the magic. There can be a one-day retreat on this subject of heliotropic healing. But today we have a lot of time, even after the class also. Please feel free to come on the health table. We'll be happy to share with you some more teachings. And finally, he said, environment is stronger than willpower. This is a subject of study in psychiatry also, that people, when they are battling with depression, they go very down. And yes, drugs do help them, but they need help. Even when people are battling with addictions, it sometimes mind goes so low that it is very difficult for that person to come up. So what did they find in the modern medicine or psychiatry? That apart from the drugs, environment also helps. Sometimes we start listening to sad songs when we are depressed, which is actually creating that vortex of depression more and more deeper. But if you will find someone who is more cheerful than you, who is having, let's say, who is more positive, then probably that will be an instantaneous way of uplifting yourself, and you can see the magic. And this scientists have discovered that if you sit and be among happy people, you will somehow get that joy. It will get rubbed into you. And that is why he said environment is stronger than willpower. So change your environment. That is one of the easiest ways of staying in good health. And finally, he said, keep smiling. That is, if I have to give you these 10 subjects, now this is not the least of them. He said, even when you are not feeling like smiling, there are 100 reasons for you not to smile. He said, stand in front of the mirror, pull your corners of the mouth, and he said, it's that important. It's that important because laughter or humor or smiles can actually work magic for you. So let me just summarize this whole subject for you, starting from the highest level of understanding that you are not this body and mind, you are pure consciousness, and you are not the thoughts which are roaming in your mind, you are a witness. And just by staying in deep feeling of love, you can actually calm your mind almost instantaneously. If you still find difficulty, take the help of breath practices, take the help of posture, take the help of energization exercises to uplift you. And just to support this whole thing, you will see that your inclinations for diet will change automatically. Go out in the sun if you feel even having more daylight into your living space, you will see it will work magic for you. And just keep smiling and share your joy with others, and you will naturally stay in good health. Thank you, dear friends.
Thank you, Dr. Amar. Indeed, a child doesn't need any certificate. And we all are children of God. As long as we remain closer to the source, we all can enjoy the bliss. Thank you, Dr. Amar, again, not only for the wisdom and teachings, but also for the experiential workshop session that we had. I now invite blissful chanting, which will go till 11 a.m.